A group of friends made the decision to investigate the shuttered mental institution on the outskirts of town on a chilly, moonless Halloween night. The once dominant building stood in eerie silence, ivy growing up the crumbling walls and its windows shattered. The buddies couldn't resist the draw of a frightening adventure, despite the villagers' warnings that the location is haunted. The atmosphere thickened with an eerie silence, and the air turned chilly as they stepped through the broken door. As they continued into the asylum, the sound of the floorboards cracking could be heard throughout the empty hallways. With their flashlights flashing, shadows danced, evoking a surreal atmosphere. They started to hear faint whispers coming from the abandoned corridors of the asylum as they explored them. They thought at first that it was just the wind playing tricks on them, but the whispers continued, becoming clearer and louder with every step. The friends glanced at each other nervously, but continued anyway, curiosity winning out over fear. They arrived at the deserted mental health facility, where a small corridor was flanked by dilapidated patient rooms. The temperature plummeted and the air felt heavy. The friends saw that the whispers had become quiet talks, as though the walls themselves revealed the secrets of the tortured spirits that had once inhabited them. Their flashlights suddenly went out due to a chilly wind, leaving them in complete darkness. Their hands shaking, panic struck as they scrambled to relight their flashlights. Amidst the complete darkness, the buddies sensed footsteps reverberating down the hallway, growing nearer by the moment. The flashlights came back to life and revealed the spectral figures of past patients wearing frayed hospital gowns. With hollow eyes, the spectral creatures gazed at the trespassers, their ghostly murmurs turning into vocal pleas for relief from the agony they had been through in the asylum. Fearful, the friends staggered backward, yearning to get out of the eerie asylum. The whispers became agonized screams that reverberated through the corridors as the temperature dropped even lower. With every step they took, the friends heard their tortured voices reverberating through the abandoned asylum as the ghostly figures chased after them. At last, the broken entrance gave way, and they fled the asylum, struggling to breathe. Even after the whispers, the friends couldn't get rid of the unsettling impression that the tormented spirits of the mental hospital were still there, stuck between the worlds of the living and the dead. Fear still thumping their hearts, the pals went home, haunted by their terrifying experience in the mental institution. They made an effort to persuade themselves that it was only a shared hallucination triggered by the creepy ambience of the abandoned asylum, or that it was just a Halloween practical joke. Days went by, but the night's memories stayed with them, haunting their nightmares and looming over their waking hours. Unusual happenings started to happen to them, whispering in the dark corners of their houses, lights that flickered but couldn't be explained, and a constant sense of being watched. Once doubtful, the pals were now wondering where the lines were drawn between the irrational and the supernatural. The friends looked into the past of the closed asylum after failing to drive out the spirits of the mental health facility. They uncovered a sordid chapter in its history, a string of unethical patient experiments, harsh therapies, and a high death rate that had imprisoned the souls of the mentally tortured inside the crumbling walls. The friends returned to the asylum with sage, candles, and a resolve to set the tormented spirits free in an effort to find closure. The air thickened with anticipation as they entered the rundown building once more. The spectral murmurs grew louder, but this time they were accompanied by voices that begged to be freed from the decades-long torture that had imprisoned them. An improvised séance circle was set up by the buddies in the center of the mental health unit. An unearthly aura filled the room as they started speaking with the spirits. Dim silhouettes emerged through the flickering candlelight, their melancholic gaze fixed on the living. With the help of an enigmatic power, the friends discovered the truth about the asylum's sinister past and made a vow to the imprisoned ghosts to reveal the atrocities that took place there. The atmosphere in the asylum changed as the revelations came to light, and the tortured murmurs became sighs of relief. A deep sense of calm descended upon the mental health unit, and the friends experienced a release of tension. The The spirits left behind an unsettling quiet as they vanished into the unknown, appreciative of the recognition of their suffering. The friends left the mental hospital with a newfound understanding of the thin veil that separates the living from the dead, united now by their shared paranormal experience. Once home to unspeakable horrors, the asylum is now a symbol of the strength of redemption and the human spirit's tenacity. The friends, whose friendship was irrevocably altered by their meeting, took the tales of the forgotten souls with them and made a commitment to make sure the mental hospital's sordid past was never forgotten or overlooked. Over the next few weeks, the pals set out to solve the secrets surrounding the history of the mental facility. They looked through historical files, spoke with past employees, and even got in touch with the relatives of patients. The story grew darker as they learned more. Patients at the facility had endured cruel procedures in the name of scientific advancement, making it a breeding ground for unethical experimentation. The staff had created a cycle of agony that had permanently altered the facility and its occupants, either through erroneous intentions or by turning a blind eye to the suffering. Motivated by a sense of duty, the friends made the decision to reveal the reality. They produced documentaries, wrote articles, and relentlessly advocated for the public to be aware of the mental hospital's troubled past. The media, local government, and even the general public took notice of their efforts. The community felt a wave of empathy and regret as the spotlight was focused on the haunted asylum. Families who had long kept their loved ones' stories to themselves came forward to share their suffering and stand with their friends in the fight for justice. There were cries for responsibility, and the mental hospital came to represent the need for changes in the field of mental health treatment. A historian who had been independently investigating the asylum's history visited the friends in the midst of this revolutionary effort. The historian disclosed a terrifying secret. The tests continued even after the asylum was closed. A covert group had persisted in its immoral activities behind closed doors, taking advantage of the weak and extending a painful cycle. Driven by a renewed resolve, the buddies and the historian revealed the organization's covert operations. Their disclosures prompted inquiries, detentions, and the dissolution of the shadow group. Once a symbol of terror, the haunted institution has evolved into a force for good. Now that the truth was out, the mental hospital was going to be demolished. As the last pieces of the abandoned asylum tumbled to the ground and the wrecking ball swung, the buddies couldn't help but experience a sense of closure. As the dust fell, the tormented spirits who had at last found peace left behind words of thanks that hung in the breeze. After completing their task, the companions left the debris, satisfied that they had not only freed the imprisoned spirits, but also revealed the evil that had been haunting the facility for far too long. The history of the mental hospital, which had previously been one of terror, was now a monument to the courage of people who dared to face the past and shed light on its shadows.